Greetings guys, and hello and welcome to a brand new video where today I'm doing an unboxing. So I'm doing an unboxing of a Raspberry Pi. No, not that kind of raspberry. So this is my very first Raspberry Pi actually. For those of you who don't know, Raspberry Pis are little kind of microcomputer systems that are very popular with hobbyists for building their own little projects. They can be used and are very popular for using in things like robotics and stuff like that. And they're a really kind of fun little thing to play around with. And as somebody who has a little bit of experience with programming, because I don't know if I've mentioned this on my videos before, but I work as a quality assurance tester for a software company. So whilst I don't do a whole lot of programming, I have done little bits of programming, and I certainly do a lot of scripting in Python to automate testing. So this is kind of a little hobby thing for me to kind of practice more coding in, and also hopefully do a retro gaming system. So with that said, let's get a better look at what's in the box. So this was ordered via Pi Hut. So first off, we have a little travel case thing here. It's a bonus extra. I just thought, you know, if I'm traveling around with this, it might be quite nice to have that, but we don't actually need it for this. This is what we're all interested in, and probably the reason why I bought this, which is the Raspberry Pi 400, is that a lot of Raspberry Pis are just literally the board. They're a very bare bones thing. So you don't get a case, you don't get any extras. You just get the board and the little micro SD card that it runs its operating system from. Whereas this is a little self-contained computer, a little keyboard. Obviously, this is UK layout. I believe they do English US, French, Spanish, German, I believe. I don't know. There's a whole range of different languages. You can have a look on their website and see what regional languages they do. I'll put a link in the description below. But what's also nice is, because the hard drive and the motherboard and everything is mounted in the case, it means that we have this nice little computer that's in the keyboard, and you can see it'll have lots and lots of adapters on the back. But enough staring at the box, let's actually see what's in the box, because that's what we're tuned in for, isn't it? I am now being defeated by a box. This is ridiculous. This is very nice. This is very nicely presented. So the box opens up like this, and right away we are greeted with our Pi 400. Nice compact little keyboard computer. As I say, it has all of our standard keys that we'd expect. Obviously we have a function key and a Raspberry Pi key for doing all of its system calls. And on the back we can see we have this little SD card there. We have two micro HDMIs. Its power supply is done through USB-C, so that's really cool. And then we have two USB 3s and a USB 2. And most importantly, we have a Ethernet. So as far as it's done, this does have built-in Wi-Fi capability, but if, like me, you prefer the more consistent performance of a wired internet connection, then this is going to give you that functionality. Here is our ribbon, or our port for putting in all of our different items that you want to plug in. Like you could plug in little pin, using the pin connectors here, you can plug in fans, you could plug in little programmable robots, whatever your project that you're working on, that all gets connected through here. And there are various kind of projects that you can do, but you might be wondering, well, what are those projects we can do? Well, we will cover that in just a moment, because there's a book in here that covers that. Now, obviously, in our box we also get our power supply. As this is a UK one, this will be a USB-C to... So we got the USB-C, and because I'm in the UK, it goes to a standard UK 3-pin plug. Obviously, if you buy an American one, it will go to an American 2-pin, so on and so forth. Or it might go to a USB adapter, I'm not too certain. It also comes with a Raspberry Pi mouse. You know, you don't need an extra mouse, but because if you buy because you can buy just the Pi 400 on its own, and it just comes with the power supply and the SD card. But this starter box is really nice. Again, we got the mouse is in this lovely contrasting white and raspberry coloured, and it's cabled, because you know that's always preferable to Wi-Fi or Wi-Fi mice and keyboards, in my opinion. Because wireless mice and keyboard are the devil's work. We have an SD card adapter that converts a micro SD to a full-size SD, so that you can plug in the SD card to your PC to format it or whatever. Quite useful. And we also have, there is our HDMI, so micro HDMI to full-size HDMI, so that we can plug this into a monitor. I will be doing that in a moment. And here is a beginner's guide to Raspberry Pi. So this goes from everything from how to do little projects, various different projects that you can try, and also gives you an overview in the Python coding language that the Raspberry Pi uses. Very useful if you've never used Python before. I mean, I imagine this will go all the way from the basics, and things like syntax, how to, callback loops, and it's all very nicely laid out, color-coded. Because that's the big thing with the Raspberry Pi, is it's designed not just as a hobbyist and an enthusiast thing, but as an educational tool. So that is the primary market of the Pi. Fortunately for me, I have a bit of experience with Python, as I said before, so I will not be at a total loose end, but it certainly feels, just from what I've read online and from brief flicking through there, that that's going to cover all of this. Now, the real deal, of course, is that you want to see what this looks like when I boot it up. So, we're going to do a quick transition, and then I'm going to park myself in front of the computer monitor, and we'll see what we can do.
Many hours later.
So, here we have my Pi 400 all connected up, and ready to use. It's obviously plugged in via HDMI to my monitor, and I have done the initial setup. I should forewarn you that when you do set this up the first time, if you can, it's worth connecting it via Ethernet, because it will, once it signs in the first time and starts up, it will run updates. And if you're doing that over Wi-Fi, that can take a little while. Anyway, so I've, as well as running the updates, I've put my own custom wallpaper on, and made a few little tweaks here and there, which I'll zoom into the screen a bit so you can see exactly what is going on here. There we go. Okay, so by default we have our start menu or taskbar. Now the default on Python, on the Raspberry Pi, is to have it at the bottom, at the top. I've moved it to the bottom because I use Windows a lot. It's just more convenient. Obviously we have a Raspberry Pi key on our keyboard, much like the Windows key. It will bring up our start menu here, and we've got various things broken down into categories. So we've got various programming tools, educational stuff. Remember, this is primarily marketed as an educational tool. A lot of the projects in your Raspberry Pi are designed to be very basic. We have our Microsoft Office equivalent here. We've got a bunch of games. Now we can actually add and remove more software packages, and there's a lovely utility here for doing that. And we can go in, and this is a list of all the different game packages that I can auto install. So all I'd need to do to click on them would be to add a package and then press apply. I'm not going to do that because I don't really want any solitaire. I'm not a big fan of solitaire anyway, but I don't need those. Some of the pre-bundled games that come with this won't appear on this list. So there are some of the softwares that you might want to adjust, and you can also do that by going into the preferences and going into recommended software. And this will show you once it finishes populating the list. And so this shows more pre-installed software. So there's a whole lot of different educational softwares. There's a whole bunch of extra games. I'm actually going to uninstall Minecraft because I already have that installed on my PC, so I don't really need that on here as well. It's just taking up room. And there, that's removed. Another thing that I removed was the email client because I can do that all via web-based email. But there's a variety of different options here, including various different programming packages. SenseHat is quite good if you want to be using the external components for things like any kind of like robotics project stuff. That's all to do with the pins I showed you earlier on the back of the actual keyboard and computer itself. I've installed Visual Studio. That's not on by default, just because I'm used to using that as a good environment. But there are a variety of different things available here, and that's before we start going and downloading other packages. I quite like this. I think it's going to be very straightforward. It will give us a lot of scope to play around with Python. Your default web browser is Chromium, which is a stripped back version of Chrome. You can see I've already added a couple of shortcuts to or bookmarked pages, one of which is of course the Raspberry Pi org website, where we can order more Raspberry Pis. We can look at various starter courses. So if you've got kids, you can enroll them on online course to do basic coding projects. And so I think this one is like, yes, we've got Coding Club here for people aged 9 to 13, and another one that's ages 7 to 17, as well as various different magazines and literature that you can download, and various different little projects that they give you guides on. Another one that I've bookmarked here, which I think is definitely worth a look, is the beginner projects for Python. And so, again, we're given a lot of different low-level projects that we can do, like hidden text within images, little platform games, audio editors. There's all sorts of little things. The one that I'm looking forward to playing around with this is building a Discord bot, so I can use that with the Discord servers that I'm on. I really do feel like, for ease of use, that this machine is a nice, simple little get about. And the great thing with this is, it boots up nice and quickly because it's all being run off that SSD card. Now, I'm not too sure what the default size micro SD card is, but obviously you can install larger micro SD cards in there. Also, using USB, you can actually use external SATA hard drives to expand the file storage capacity. I don't need to do that at the moment because I'm not planning on using a whole lot of file storage on here. It's really just for these little projects, but we'll see how I get on. There are a variety of different projects. Obviously the focus with this all-in-one unit is because it's a keyboard, you're not going to use it for, or you're less likely to use little server projects and stuff like that I've seen other people use the basic Raspberry Pi. It's also worth noting that the Pi 400 has a greater performance, because this is it's effectively a 4 gig version of the normal Pi 4, but it's overclocked, so it has a higher clock speed than the stock one. The stock Pi 4 will have I think it's a 1.8. Is this 1.8? Yeah, I think this is 1.8, and the standard one is 1.5 gig. So it's a little bit more of a beefy performance, and you don't have to worry about like trying to put it in a case and assemble it. This is a nice ready-to-go unit, so it represents a very cool and easy-to-use setup. Now, the default operating system for the Raspberry Pi uses a I don't know, there should be a, does it help tell us a bit about the software? Installation. Installing your operating system. Can we get some information? That's what we want. But I love the fact that all of this sort of documentation on Raspberry Pi's website gives you like how to set up SD cards. So the default size is the 16 gig. It's also worth noting that they give you what the limitations are. There's all sorts of useful information on here. But this Raspberry Pi interface and the operating system that's used here can be replaced. You can run a straight up version of Linux. I believe this will support the Ubuntu operating system from Linux. It will also support, there is development now for a basic version of Windows 10 which can be run on this. But I think if you wanted to run Windows 10 on a machine, you're more likely to have bought a Windows 10 tablet or a Windows 10 PC or laptop. The flexibility of this machine is that we have those range of options open to us that we wouldn't normally have with other hardware. It's all about experimentation, it's all about learning. So I would strongly recommend, if you're thinking of learning a bit of programming language, in particular learning Python, or you want to start playing around with Arduino little servos, so sort of fans and little kind of desktop toys, as it were, that it is a really good bit of kit to learn that with. And it still has a lot of familiarity. You know, we still have our documents using a Windows-based file navigation that is very similar to what we have in Microsoft Windows and in other operating systems. And even powering it on and off is nice and simple. We just have this simple log out, and I can reboot, log out, or shut down. If I shut down, completely closes, and to turn it back on again, all I've got to do is press the F10 key, which is the power key, and that will bring it. I might need to press the function key as well. And yep, there's a little flash of the light there. Not quite as quick as booting up a Windows machine, but hey, it's running a smaller machine. Also, I'm used to that because my Windows machine is like, well, significantly more powerful than this. But that's fine. that's fine. Like I said, the main reason I bought this is to play around with all of the stuff that I want to do in Python and all the coding. So I'm going to be going through various notes that I've previously written about Python and look at various projects and just play around and expand my knowledge. I don't believe that the default Python installation on here includes all of the modules, so you may find you need to go and download additional Python modules, and you can do that through things like pip. But yeah, I may make another video later on when I've got a greater depth of experience with this, but already I feel confident that this is going to give me a variety of options to play around that I don't have to worry about interrupting what I'm doing on my main PC. So yeah, I would encourage you to, if you're thinking about giving this a go, to look into the Pi 400. And until next time, stay nerdy.